daughter-in-law. And now a queen 2 times over, Mary Queen of Scots and of France, Adelaide Kane. And what would a queen be without her king, former Dauphin, Toby Redcliffe. So welcome everybody. I know it's Rain's first time at Comic-Con, so how's it been so far?
Brief. we flew in about 9 hours ago or something crazy. Yeah, and we're flying out to start work in about 4. So it's been brief, we'd love to stay.
Yeah, we haven't got to spend enough time with you guys, but it's been amazing. It's just fantastic to look around and watch everybody.
Have you seen anybody dressed as Mary yet? Or maybe Clarissa?
We haven't even hit the floor yet. Like, we haven't really gotten to go anywhere. We've kind of been ushered from room to room to, you know, promote the 2nd season. I'm looking forward to getting out on the floor later.
We'll have to keep an eye out for you on the floor later then. So I asked Rain fans before heading into the panel to send me their questions over Twitter. And we'll be taking questions later from you all as well. I have to say, you guys have some great fans.
Yeah.
Yes, we do. We have the best.
But it did take me a little while to decipher all the questions. A word that came up a lot was frary. Adelaide, do you want to describe what a frary is?
Frary is the shipping name given to Francis and Mary's relationship.
Very fitting that the 2 of you are here today.
Yeah, the ship is sailing, the ship has sailed. I think, yeah, we're married now. First marriage, it's going well so far. We'll see how it works out.
We'll try not to read too much into the body language. Lori, how should the Fraries feel about how the season ended?
I think they should be a little nervous and a little bit excited. I think you know, you'll see season 2 is really very much an exploration of what it's like to be married, what it's like to be married as 2 young royals, what it's like to be married as 2 young royals, you know, with complications that are political and personal and, you know, a little bit horrific on occasion.
Marriage. Megan, I also heard quite a lot about Henrins. Was all the shipping stuff a surprise to you, or are you familiar with it from your days of being in Green Gables?
Change there for me, isn't it? Yeah, so it's from Henry Gilbert, it's a little different, but you never know Gilbert and Anne after a while. Maybe they might have ended up like Catherine and Henry.
So Henry's sadly out of the picture. Though, you know, the castle has had ghosts before. Is there a chance that he may pop up again?
You know, there's a chance that anything can happen, right? But, you know, we're very sad to lose our king, and but it's a new era. It's the era of, you know, Francis is king and Mary's queen, and Catherine de Medici is queen mother, a title that she's gonna hate.
I think if there's not literal ghosts, there is a haunting that I'm having to deal with, a haunting of what I did to my dad.
No, that's right. I mean, you know, the audience knows what you did, but so far nobody else in the show does. So how is that going to play out?
I'll probably just have to keep that a secret. And that'll be one of the major struggles with my character, I suppose, over the season, is that I really want to get this off my chest. But I can't tell anyone. And that's going to eat me inside, I imagine.
So the Catherine and Henry scenes were some of my favorite. Do you know if you'll have a new sparring partner in the new season?
Well, we have some exciting new guests coming to the castle, and I think that I definitely loved my relationship with Henry for that, because it was sort of this horribly delicious marriage on fire kind of. It just gave you a lot to play with. So, Lori, why don't you talk to us about these new guests that have arrived?
Well, you and I have talked about Catherine's relationship with men and relationship with pretty much everybody. And it's always kind of rooted in fear and power and, you know, often in lust and desire as well. And We have new characters coming to court. Season 2 is very much about what goes on beyond the castle walls, and a lot of nobles have been waiting out there for kind of their day in court, and for their moment to get involved with people like Catherine and Mary and Francis as well.
I think you get to see some of the power plays and the politics behind it. There's the face of power, the king, the queens, and then there's actually the people with the money, the people that own the land, they have the food, they have the armies, and in fact we are beholden to them. And that becomes a lesson and a bit of a interesting dynamic for Mary and I, because I understand those politics. And there's a bit of ruthlessness behind that, and that is a harder thing, I think, for Mary to understand why we have to do as they say at times, when we should be the ones with power. So I always love Reign because it's the face of power presented as one thing, and it's all the undercurrents and what else is really kind of behind the scenes and the backstabbing and the negotiating of power in a different way.
There's been a lot going on that, you know, that I think Francis is not going to be completely shocked by, but Henry was a lot of things, but maybe not the best father.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
Yeah,
that time that he tried to kill actually both of his sons. That time.
Did he?
No, that he tried to.
Oh, well, you know.
Not the best father.
Just another day in the castle.
Yeah.
He threatened Tuesday
He
afternoon.
was about to kill Francis, but, yeah.
I thought that when I became king that it would become, that I would have the same sort of power that it looked like my father had, where he just sort of went around cutting people's heads off, and I thought, I can do that now, I can just cut everyone's head off. But turns out that there are people that are very powerful, who work behind the scenes, who rear their ugly heads and try and control me, tell me that I can't do what I want.
Not as easy as it looks.
Not as easy as it looks.
So I know that you started filming season 2 already. How was it getting back to set? Did you guys have any kind of reunion rituals or anything like that?
It felt like we never left.
Yeah, we just sort of got right back
We
into
had
it.
2 months off, and it did. We've got exactly the same cast and crew coming back, apart from a few new faces, so it's really nice.
Yeah, which is unusual. It's unusual to have like all the same crew, and it's just coming back to the same people.
Yeah, it does feel
We're
like.
all working very hard. We have a fantastic crew, I have to say. It's really a pleasure and a great cast. We have a lot of fun. I may seem like I'm trying to kill her, but I actually have a lot of fun.
We actually like each other in real life.
Laurie, so what can you tell us about season 2 so far? You know, we're dying to hear anything.
Well, you know, the darkness was killed, and, you know, the plague is coming, and it's going to land at the castle with a vengeance, and it'll change the dynamics of court, it'll change the dynamics of this particular region of France. Not everyone will survive it among our people, as well as, you know, a percentage of the regional population will die. As I mentioned, we have new power players coming to court, new romantic intrigue. We'll be meeting other members of the Valois Medici family. Will be joining us this year. So,
Really? Tell us more. So you said that not everybody's going to make it out alive. Have you decided yet who's going to be felled by the plague? Is there time for
Everyone. Everyone dies. That's the plot twist for season 2. We all die at the plague.
In episode 2.
Episode 3, we're dead. Sorry.
you know, we've actually finished filming the first episode. So, you know, I think we all know who's died of the plague, but you'll have to tune in to the first episode to see.
Just gonna have to watch it, guys. Sorry.
I think we'd be watching anyway. So with the plague, kind of the predominant theme of the season, will that change the show we're used to seeing? It's going to be hard to imagine having big parties set for lumineers when people are dying.
Well, the plague is going to pass.
Okay.
And you know, and really, what the season is about is what kind of rises from the ashes of the plague, because you know it'll be followed by a famine, just to make things even
more
scarier.
fun. More fun for the castle.
It really is. It's just about you know, inheriting a nation that is in fact burning, and because Mary and Francis are doing their best as young rulers to rule a nation that should be in their control but is actually out of their control.
So you mentioned that the plague will pass quickly. I know that the show has played with time.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes we spend quite a lot of time on an event, and sometimes it feels like time passes very quickly. How will this season deal with that?
We're finding it as we go. I think season 2, the time clock of the world that our people live in is going to slow down a little bit. I was eager to get Mary and Frances on the throne. I felt like, I always want the show to move forward. I always want them to meet new challenges, and it felt like there's no greater challenge than being the king and the queen of a nation. And so, it feels a little bit, forgive the phrase organic, but I think it's, the show's kind of speaking to us now, this incredible team of writers, and we're finding, that there's so many stories to tell kind of in the in-between chapters of the first year of marriage and the first year of a rule.
So, Adelaide, last season Mary was kind of really torn between being the Queen of Scotland, but then also a good wife to Frances. How much will her focus be split between, at this point, 3 different countries, right? England, Scotland, and France.
I mean, she's in a really tricky position where she is the queen of 2 different countries and does want to do her best by both of them, and to be a good wife, which I think is going to be kind of tricky, considering her husband slept with one of her best friends and got her pregnant, which is always awkward. You guys, but I would be uncomfortable with that. And sort of in the wake of the plague, and pairing off to be with her best friend instead of staying with her to help deal with a nation racked with plague.
I'm an impulsive guy.
I mean, yeah, clearly. But I'm really interested to see her trying to wrest power away from Queen Catherine now that she's also the Queen of France. I think that's going to be really interesting, and I know that we're going to have some Protestant Catholic political tension coming up in future episodes, so there's a lot to deal with in this particular season. Not only being Queen of Scotland, being Queen of France, being a good wife, resisting the urge to kill her best friend and her child.
Being a good friend too, being
trying to be
of your lady.
Trying to rise above it.
Yeah.
Trying to rise above all of it and do the right thing and still manage to keep the land from devouring itself in the wake of the plague.
So the Catherine-Mary dynamic was absolutely one of my favorites. I think that kind of the tension, and then sometimes the way that you would all of a sudden be on the same side, but maybe only for like 10 minutes, was really fun. What will the dynamic be like this season, given that now everybody should have Frances and Frances's best interests at heart?
Well, I'm not sure exactly where we're going to go, but I think so far, even relating back to what we just talked about, Mary now actually has something more in common with Catherine than she did before, because of course I know what it's like to have a husband who has a bastard child. So Mary is now being introduced into another dynamic of the reality of the difference between men and women in power at this time, and the rules are not the same for the genders. So I think that's something in a way that actually will, for me, I feel gives me somewhat of an empathy for her. But again, because it's not, there isn't enough always power to go around, there's always that struggle to maintain it. Yeah, and I'm very still protective of my sons and my children.
But all your sons, not just Frances. I think for the entire Valois line, that's Catherine.
Many children.
Yeah,
because that's how I'm going to live through my sons and their heirs, and that's the dynamic that Mary is now facing. So it would make a really interesting dinner table conversation. Can you just imagine?
So, haven't had an heir yet? No? There's an heir?
Are you pregnant yet? Huh?
Okay.
What are you doing here?
Well, since you brought it up, people are very interested in Mary's fertility. That seems to be a big question out there. Will we find out?
People in her century were very interested in her fertility as well, and
everyone's interested in my ovaries. I don't know what to tell you.
There's much gossip and speculation, and I think it's an important thing in a marriage. It's an important thing to marry, because it makes her not just a benefit to French court, but really it's what makes her at the moment a better option for England than Elizabeth, who is married and childless. So
there's pressure to produce heirs for not only France but also Scotland, and then potential heirs for England should Elizabeth fail to be a good queen, or if she decides to, try and take over. She did, and then ended up beheaded.
Plus, there's a baby in the castle, and and
Which
her
is very
husband is father. So I think that adds a little pressure as well.
Yeah.
So, is there a chance for a furry baby in our future?
There's a chance for anything.
Never say never.
I mean, they're certainly going to try and make it happen.
Oh God, it's not
Yeah,
for
we've got to
lack
fly
of
back.
trying.
We've got to fly back tomorrow to try and make it happen. Actually.
We're going to have pretend sex on Saturdays. It's going to be really awkward. 50 odd people on set. Yeah, it looks nice on TV. It's really strange in real life. Yeah, it's really odd.
So, not to get into the details.
No, it's not.
Here I go. When you get your costume in the morning, and the costume that they give you, rather than a hanger with loads of stuff, is just like that. It's like a drawstring beige bag that you would put marbles in when you were a kid. And I think of calling my mum and being like, "Mum, yeah, I've made it. I've got the bag. I've made it."
Well, Rain definitely had some racy moments last season. Should we be expecting more of those? Is that what we're hearing here?
Yeah, you should. I think that, because sexuality is a huge part of everyone's life. It's a big factor in marriage. I think sexuality in this day and age, also because there is such inequity between men and women, it's also very much about power. You'll see plenty of it, believe me.
That's a promise, right?
Oh, it's a promise. Yeah.
So one of the big questions about the show, when you're telling the story of Mary Queen of Scots, is how bound to history you are. Sorry, Toby, but according to Wikipedia, your character dies.
Yeah.
You heard that?
Also, according to Wikipedia, my character has undescended testicles. So, which anyone who's been watching the show knows that is a quality that I've been playing.
We don't talk about this in front of Toby.
Yeah, well, you talked about sort of how the time period that we're over episodes, how long we're taking. So there has been some jumps because you were saying earlier that you wanted there to be a baby involved and for me to be on the throne. But now I think in order for me to stay alive, the jumps have to get smaller. I thought we could do it like 24. And instead of like the beep, 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 we just have like a sundial. And then I can live forever.
Like every season could just be, a week at the castle, and that seems fair, right?
Yeah.
Template. 3 months later.
But are you feeling bound by history, or do you think that Reign is a show that could kind of turn its own course?
I feel we take advantage of history is I think the best way to put it. And when you look at the show in the first season, you'll see that we hit most of the major signposts. And, that happened at court. If they were big and they were dramatic, we used them. And, but we moved forward at different speeds. And so, we'll see how it feels to tell stories of, Francis and Mary ruling together. And but I'm sort of team fairy myself, and so I'm in no rush to say goodbye to Toby or to Francis.
I think the love triangle was kind of such a great part of the first season. People were definitely a little surprised that you went for a Vashkana marriage so quickly.
Right.
They're kind of great together too.
They are.
Why did you decide to do that? Because it feels like it's harder to root for, what's it called, MASH?
I see you.
When both people are married.
Right now.
I feel like healthy people move on, and Mary and Francis were wed, and it seemed like a great kind of left turn for the show to take. It felt really motivated that King Henry would do it almost as a cruel joke. I will say, in writing the show early in the season, there was a really small scene, a moment between Ken and Vash where they were kind of sitting on a sofa, and she was actually
That was really early on.
asking him about his father, and his response was,
I
it's
don't really
hard to
talk about
imagine a
that.
more awkward conversation. And I love their chemistry, and I just kind of put it in my pocket for later.
Oh, that's so interesting. So it's kind of almost you're riding towards their chemistry.
Yeah, the chemistry was there, for the taking, and I thought, and they're both such good actors that I felt like even if they didn't have chemistry together, there would be something great in that too. So I love to, paint ourselves into a corner and then see what comes out of it.
I'm really glad that we didn't continue with that love triangle business, into perpetuity, because I feel like so many shows do that. They have like this endless love triangle where the lead female gets with one guy and then she's with the other guy and then she's with the other guy again, and it's tired and it's exhausting and I'm sick of seeing it. And like honestly, you can only do that for so long before it gets just bloody boring.
Well, it's not our show. It's also not our show to kind of lean on things like that. And I
We don't rely on love triangles as a main plot device. We have storylines.
But I think it felt earned when it was happening. I felt like, he was always kind of looking at what his brother had. He was, enchanted by you, and there was a political motivation for you to come together. And once that was passed, it felt like they would separate and move on, and they didn't.
So does that mean that the Bash-Mary relationship will now be like completely platonic? Will they totally move off?
I feel like
He'll always have a special place in her heart. They'll always have a special relationship, I think. I just don't think they'll bang.
I think Toby has something to say about that.
I do say to Bash at some point something about trust in the next season, that there's a regaining of trust. At that moment, actually, in the end, when we hug, I think that we're back to being things are easily forgotten when you're moving forward.
No, I thought that kind of embrace when Francis goes and embraces,
Yeah, in the first episode of the next one, we hug each other like 3 times.
Yeah.
They were like, that's a good moment, let's put it in more.
So the dynamic between the brothers in the new season, will it be much more friendly, or will they still have a tension now that Francis is gained?
He wants Bash on his side, because despite what happened, I think there's a family counts for a lot in this world.
Yeah.
Sort of, it's here and there, but it's one of the things that you can sort of rely on, because everyone is trying to stab everyone else in the back. So
it's also better
having
to
someone
have,
around that has the same blood as you, and
it's also better to know where they're at, the people that could potentially cause a threat to you. To have them on your team, I think that even if that's not a conscious thought, he's much better to have him, to know where he is, because he's already learned how dangerous his brother can be to him. That's just your mother speaking to you now.
There are different kinds of love stories on the show, and there are obviously romantic love stories, but there are stories about the love between brothers, there are stories about the love between friends, and when you look at, particularly Mary and her ladies, they're all but orphans. None of them have really been raised by their parents. They found family in each other, and they value that, and so we wouldn't have them betray each other without motivation.
Except for obviously for Matthew. Yeah.
Right.
Idiot. You want to break the idiot?
That's one of the things that's so interesting about Lila having the baby is that it feels like you're setting up history maybe repeating itself, right? With the Catherine and Diane.
It's a bit of the son repeating the sins of the father, a wee bit.
Yeah, I am my father's son.
Dark.
Are you planning on having it kind of track that, or will you take it in a different direction?
We are tracking that. I think, Mary and Francis are going to do everything they can to live a life that's very different from their parents, but the constraints around them are very similar to.
There's only so much you can do.
It's easier said than done, I think.
Yes. And what role will Catherine play now that she's no longer queen? She's the mother of the queen. How will she fit into the puzzle? Do you know?
Tell me.
I feel like Catherine is at her best when she is scrappy and dangerous. And, I think that she is, by definition, a little bit marginalized because she's no longer, the queen. She's the queen mother. And that
makes for some, I think, crunchy and dangerous encounters.
Nice. I like it.
The show's kind of always had certain supernatural elements to it. Do you expect to continue that in season 2, or will you pull back?
You know, we talk about it in the writers' room. We talk about season 2 is really, I mean, sort of what the plague leaves us with is, you know, it's a kind of a political upheaval, but it's also what we're calling is kind of the haunted season. And it's primarily people are haunted by the things that they've done. They're haunted by surviving, and you know, and we'll see different iterations of those hauntings that are going to be very scary and very personal to them.
Interesting. So when we talked at New York Comic Con, I know that it sounded like filming was just such a blast. The cast was really tight-knit. Toby, are you still cooking for everybody?
What's that?
Are you still cooking for people?
Yeah. But
About that.
I became a vegetarian, so it's really taken the edge off. It's really taken the edge off sort of fine dining. I can't bring people around and sort of like cook them leeks.
Yes, you can.
Okay, everyone come around for leeks.
Adelaide, it's your turn to start cooking now.
Yeah, I bake. I can only really do sweet things and bread. I can't cook people food. I can only cook things that involve large amounts of sugar, caramel, and chocolate.
I made Anna a Popwell cake for her birthday, and it's got pop rocks in the bottom. And and this was at the beginning of when Toronto, the weather was going crazy, and I travelled like 45 minutes across the worst blizzard with like snow going horizontally this way in a pair of boots that was falling over to go get one packet of pop rocks to make a cake, which is quite satisfying.
And I know part of season 2 will be filming on location in Ireland. Are you excited to get back?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's so gorgeous, beautiful.
I'm hoping I'll get some time off this time so I can
It's my falconry, it's a falcon school.
yeah, and go riding and you know, go traipsing through the forest, and there's gorgeous little islands out in the lake that I'm convinced have fairies on them. So I'd like to go and see the islands.
Well, speaking of season 2, we have something very special for all of you. An exclusive sneak peek.